Well, I think this is it. We got our 360s, party's over. And actually, I think Xbox is officially dead, don't you think?
Now, if you guys would play Cameo the way it's supposed to be played, we would have a whole different conversation. Christian, right?
Christian, yeah.
Andrew? Shane.
Shane.
That's not a review.
What?
So I will expect a re-review in a future issue, Kimmy.
I will review it. I will review it on my blog as soon as I play it.
Shane, just hand in your pants.
The first 6 and 7.
Oh, well, that's an EGM.
Still, that to me is one of your babies. Oh!
So what do you guys think?
Thanks for standing up for us, Che. If he wants to talk to me about how to play Cameo, like I'll tell him about, I beat Cameo, I played through Cameo. He probably hasn't played Cameo. Maybe he watched his daughter play it or something. If he wants to talk Cameo, like what's your favorite boss beater? Oh, you didn't fight any bosses because they're not fun to fight. Go swimming with Cameo. Cameo can't actually swim. She goes in water and she just sits there. You have to be transformed into one of their guys to swim.
I think it's kind of cool that an executive level person actually cares that much about an individual review. That's kind of cool.
You should have stood up for us. Our reviews are right.
Well, I didn't play the game, so it's not.
Well, you're not going to because it's not really worth playing.
Well, that's also true.
That's also true.
Can't wait for them to read my PDZ review.
Ouch.
Yeah. Ouch. You know what, dude? You're wrong about that.
Yeah, so I just bought a house.
Oh, really? Cool, awesome. How is it?
It's pretty cool.
Wow, is it expensive?
Yeah, I'm still paying off the mortgage.
Ew. Well, if there's anything I can do.
Actually, there is. You could give me a job.
Now to think about it, Jeremy has my 8-ball for a while. I wonder if he can go get it for me. I'll pay you in bells.
Okay.
Don't dawdle.
Hello. Did you leave me a message in a bottle?
Did you come to play?
I did.
Oh, excellent. Yes, I've left you a message in a bottle, which is distributed by the tag mode in Animal Crossing, a new feature for Animal Crossing DS.
Now that Animal Crossing's on the DS, there's actually a lot of new things you can do.
Yeah, for instance, I will never put down my DS again.
From Dr. Toasty.
Hey, that's me.
You sent me a rather salacious message.
Did I?
You did. You said your biscuits are burning.
That's not salacious. That's Yosemite Sam.
I need a damn shovel.
Yeah, I stole a shovel from someone else's game, but there was only one, and I'm not that generous. Sorry.
Do you remember in the GameCube game that there was a way to replicate the golden shovel? Do you remember that? There was
No,
a bug.
I never have been into the
golden
bugs and
shovels.
exploits like that. How did you manage that?
I can't remember. That's why I was asking if you remembered. I wonder if there's things like that in this game.
Yeah, the constellations you can set up, and then since the upper screen is dedicated just to showing your town's sky, at night you actually see the constellations, and your moon moves across the sky throughout the night, but the constellations stay fixed but move very gradually over the course of the year. When you create a constellation, Celeste, the owl who lives in the observatory above the museum, she'll actually tell you when the optimum viewing time for each constellation will be based on its position in the sky. So it's really kind of nerdy. It's kind of that J.R.R. Tolkien, a little bit too obsessive about details kind of thing.
So far, the most fun I've had is visiting your town.
Yeah, walking around in someone else's town is surprisingly addictive, although, you know, I think it will be less fun when people like Sharky visit and all they're interested in doing is picking up all your flowers and chopping down all your trees. But if you're actually interested in playing straight and leaving messages for people and meeting new animals, that's actually pretty entertaining. And I'm curious to see if people migrate, if animal characters migrate back and forth every time you visit a town like you did on the GameCube.
And I wonder, when you visited my town, you wrote a lot of letters to my animal friends.
I did.
They're going to show them to me, probably.
Yeah, probably. And you're probably going to get a lot of insights into the workings of my mind that you never really wanted. A lot of people like to compare Animal Crossing to Harvest Moon or the console Sims games, but they're really not, because those games are very objective based and you have to play against the clock a lot, whereas Animal Crossing is more playing with the clock. Different things happen at different times of day. If you miss it, it'll probably happen again sometime. It's really more about going out and conversing with imaginary animal creatures and sending letters to them, and then, getting online, hooking up with people who have a copy of the game, sending letters back and forth to them, swapping items, trading fruit or furniture or whatever. It's also about indentured servitude to a raccoon.
You've been playing Mario and Luigi too.
I have.
And I don't know, you've had some very, very, very nice things to say about it.
I really love those games. I've never been the biggest RPG guy. Like,
Right.
The traditional RPG battle system, I never really liked it. I tolerated it, but I never really liked it. The whole,
turn-based?
turn-based,
Yeah.
you issue commands, you issue attacks, and you just kind of watch it happen as you do it.
Sure.
With the Mario RPG games, the way it's always been is like, it's a lot more action-oriented. Where like, when you jump on an enemy, you hit the jump button, and when you get close to the enemy, when you're jumping at them, you hit it again to do extra damage.
I love that part of the mechanic.
Yeah, and it's like doing the attacks and doing counterattacks and doing evasions. The whole timing-based thing is awesome. It's like you're playing an action game more than you're playing an RPG. And they use the dual screens a lot. They use them very well for battles, for exploration. You have the adult Mario Brothers and the baby Mario Brothers.
Right.
They meet up and you have the kids on your back, and sometimes the kids will go up to the top screen and they'll do stuff on the top screen, and they'll kind of clear the way, solve puzzles for the brothers on the bottom screen. So you're kind of negotiating back and forth, up and down.
Sort of like Sonic Rush, which I thought was one of the best uses of the dual screen.
Yeah. It's basically the same story as all the Mario RPG games have been so far. Where like a star has been shattered, you have to collect the shards.
Right.
Basically. But it's very cliche, but the way that they wrote the story, the way they did the localization of it is just fantastic. Like Luigi is probably the funniest character in the game, even though he doesn't say anything. Just the way that they animate him and the way that the characters interact with each other is just hilarious.
Yeah, Jane and I have talked to some of the people that work over at the Treehouse. And
Yeah.
They seem particularly happy
Yeah.
with the work that they've done on the Mario RPG games, and it shows. It's excellent. There aren't too many games that are like laugh out loud funny, but the Mario RPG games totally
You find
are.
yourself laughing out loud at this like really kid-looking RPG game, but it's like genuinely funny.
Right. A major problem with Superstar Saga on Game Boy Advance was that I'm kind of anal retentive, and when I play, you could switch which character was in front, and so I found myself like I'd need to switch to my hammer to do something, but then I found it most logical to have my characters be set in their jump mode, so I'd switch back, and I found that I was pressing L and R and switching the character positions like all the time, and that kind of just got old after a while for me, but
instead of actually fixing that, they kind of made it worse by adding the babies, because now you have two sets of powers that you need to manage at the same time. And that's probably my biggest problem with the game too, is that when you want to jump and you don't have your buttons set right, it's like, it's kind of awkward.
it doesn't really hurt the game that much. It was just my only problem with a otherwise like really, really good RPG.
Is that they take the best elements of everything and then combine it, and it's definitely a great game.
Cool.
Well, I think I'm going to save now that I have my tag mode bottle and a desperate entreaty for peaches and pears that I can't possibly fulfill.
Oh, one more thing, Jeremy. Karen wants her 8-ball back. Do you have her 8-ball?
Oh, yeah, I've got that.
Okay, great.
There you go.
I better get this 8-ball back to Karen, and fast. I hope she's at her desk. She's not here. There's nothing of interest. There's nothing of interest. It's locked. That's Che. There's nothing of interest. It won't budge. There's nothing of interest. Excuse me.
Hey, stranger.
Have you seen Karen? She's a girl I'm looking for.
I know who that is. You know what's good for you? Stop asking questions.
Have you seen Karen? She's a girl I'm looking for.
What did I just say?
Evening, Constable.
Constantly, I'm busy. No time for fucking strangers.
I'm Detective Jack Walters. I've been hired by the regional manager of the First National.
Last week, Che, when we were out at 0 Hour, you kind of mentioned that you thought that the Xbox One was dead and that the 360 was here, and so, you know, like, do you really think the Xbox is dead?
No. Obviously not.
There's still games coming out for the Xbox.
I think the Xbox is still alive. No, actually it is. And I kind of realized that this week.
Dead bodies, and plenty of them. Something dreadful has been going on down here.
Call of Cthulhu is one of those games that like kind of snuck up on us. Like I remember hearing about it, and I really like H.P. Lovecraft, and so I was excited about the game.
Sure.
But then it just kind of came, and you know, we didn't really cover it. But I'm happy to give Call of Cthulhu some love because I think it's incredibly arresting, I think.
Yeah, I think it's really fun. I've been playing it as well, and it's like...
first-person adventure.
It's what we've been waiting for. If you've wanted a first-person adventure game, like any of those old PC adventure games, like by LucasArts or, you know, like the Monkey Island stuff, I don't know, this is a really good example of that.
What, me here? It must be an old case. Something I've forgotten. Some screwball with a grudge, maybe. Think. I've gotta think.
I've played, I think, about 2.5 hours, and I still haven't encountered combat, so... so combat, I think it's maybe de-emphasized, which is sort of neat because you spend a lot of time sleuthing. Like you collect clues, you talk to people.
It does feel a lot like Thief to me because of the giant town that they drop you in. You kind of wander around, you sneak around the town, and there are some stealth maneuvers, like you can click in on the right stick, and it allows you to like peek outside of corners and move very, very slightly.
And you hold your breath while you do it, which is kind of a neat effect. You're like...
You can walk around and kind of look at any object in front of you, and he'll say something about it. I just like the ability to examine everything. And even the key items in the game do a pretty good job of both blending into the environment in terms of where they're placed, and also standing out enough so that you can see them.
Do you have to put the red gem in the tiger's mouth or anything like that?
I did put a green gem. Yeah, I think I did put a green gem somewhere.
It's not too bad. I mean, you know, like the med kit is in the store where it would be sold or something like that. I don't know. So it's cool. I can't wait to play it more, actually.
Yeah, it's a really good game. I mean, I don't think we've reviewed it yet on 1UP, and hopefully we'll be able to throw up a review soon because we have been enjoying it.
This is it, stranger. End of the line.
I think it's really easy to compare Half-Life 2 to Half-Life 2 on PC. I mean, that's the most obvious way that you've seen screenshots or you've played. Like, Valve is really good about releasing these high-quality videos of their games, so everyone saw what Half-Life 2 looked like about 2 years before it came out. The texture, if you're running on a high-end PC, you're going to get much, much higher res textures. The frame rate is going to be much more consistent. The resolution is obviously much higher. But when you compare it to other Xbox games, Half-Life 2 looks really, really good. The frame rate may be one of its like sorest points, but if you compare it, I don't know. I think it looks a lot better than Halo 2. I think it looks a lot better than a lot of the other.
Not Doom 3.
That's your personal preference.
I like spider heads.
Good.
Robots.
You can go on and
Rocket
like
launchers.
those. It does look good. It plays really, really good. They've actually added new, some of the HDR effects that they're using in the new PC versions of their games that support HDR, but it doesn't support all the features. But you will notice like some extra bloom lighting and some of the HDR features. But most importantly is that the control, the story is great. The gameplay is, amazing. There are parts where you're doing little physics puzzles and all that sort of thing that you just can't get anywhere else.
I think it has a great backstory. I love the art direction, everything. So
I don't need that much story in my games, and I particularly like the way that the story is told through the environment in this game.
Sweet. Where's your ball, dog?
with that, another game I've been playing on Xbox is Operation Flashpoint, which I know you watched me play and that you were kind of down on.
I'm not entirely down on it. I mean, I totally see its merits. I think it comes down to me liking more arcadey shooters and less sim-style shooters.
It's almost like you feel like you're a dude saddled with gear, and you're like, God, it's tiring to run from point to point.
It has a weight to it.
It definitely has a weight to it, and that weight carries itself into like everything in the game world. It's a total sandbox, so you're just I mean, there is mission structure, but if you wanted to, you could just go and like fly your helicopter to the other side of the island and skip out on the whole mission and just like look around or whatever. It's like GTA in that respect. It's one of those games where like you could play with a bunch of people and each person could like say teams of two command helicopters and gunships and like, you know, go for like, you know, search and destroy missions and stuff like that. I mean, it's kind of like Battlefield Modern Combat, but way more sim. Everything is way more tactical. You just think the graphics are terrible.
The graphics are terrible.
They are terrible. They're 2001 graphics. I mean, 2001 PC graphics, basically.
But it's 2001 PC graphics like done by a small team that doesn't have like a giant budget. So there's like things clipping through other things, like a lot.
Right. It is, I think, one of the only war games, aside from Brothers in Arms, that makes me deathly afraid to run out in the open without cover, because you die instantly in that game if you get shot. Or if you get lucky, you get shot in the legs and you fall down and you can't get back up. And you can crawl around, you can call for a medic. And then once he like patches you up, then you can get back up to run for cover. But the feeling of like getting shot in the leg and lying there, but you're like, I'm gonna die if like the medic doesn't get to me, and like, you know, I'm just lying here.
That's a game that I would really love, actually, because it forces you to think more strategically
about. Thinking, man. You're right. Yeah. In fact, there's this one mission where you have to steal a car, and that's your entire mission. Seriously, you think, oh, look, 200 yards away, there's the car. I'm gonna run over to the car, and like, if you do that, you'll die.
You can't run to the car. Never, ever run to the car.
And then one time I got in the car and somebody fucking shot me in the head and I died in the car. Yeah, but I love this ugly game. So.
It's his baby.
Yes.
You know, while Operation Flashpoint doesn't support the backwards compatibility of 360, both Half-Life 2 and Call of Cthulhu do. While there are some slowdown issues more in Half-Life 2. It's not so visible as it is on the Xbox in parts, and definitely there are parts of the game that run faster on the 360, and it looks smoothed out because everything's anti-aliased. And I think both games look more colorful on 360 as well.
Okay, so it's not Prince of Persia 3, it's Prince of Persia The Two Thrones, but it's basically Prince of Persia 3, because if you didn't play Warrior Within or The Sands of Time, you're going to be like, the hell is happening? They don't really ease you into the story process.
I never thought the story was, I mean, it's engaging, but
it was awesome in Sands of Time. I thought it like ended itself really well. It introduced the concept and then kind of wrapped it up.
But it was the way that it was told. It kind of ripped off the eco thing, but then they had fair talk, and she'd talk over the gameplay, like while you were walking around.
That's
and
the
that
thing,
was really
is that the relationship between the prince and Pharaoh was like, to me, the best part about the game. It was the most endearing part about Prince of Persia. Sure.
But the vizier's army still hunted him, and they grew more determined by the hour.
This game is basically like, you know, a response to all the angry fan letters. I think it's like they brought back all the old favorites. Like, you know, there's more platforming this time. They've kept the combat from part 2, and then they brought back. I mean, it's kind of a spoiler, but you're gonna find out like real soon anyway that they brought back Farah. So like there's that like interaction again.
Now she's going to kill us.
How in the world have you managed to survive this long?
Again, like the first game, hell breaks loose in Persia, and like everybody turns into monsters. Except now you've been infected by the sands of time, and like so you have like the sands in your body, and when you were infected, you were like also wrapped up with these chains, so the chains became a part of your body. And so it actually looks really lame because you're running around the whole time with like a flesh wound that looks really nasty. The cool thing about being the Dark Prince is that you have this chain that's wrapped around you. So when you become the Dark Prince, you have an extra weapon. It feels like they've been playing God of War, kind of. The combat is very like swingy, and it's very has that
God
that
of War
feel.
had fun combat.
Yeah,
rip off from the best,
exactly. If you're gonna do something like that, yeah, you might as well. Like everyone's been saying, this should have been the sequel to Sands of Time. I think the problem is that Jordan Mechner isn't there anymore, so I don't know. I think the series has lost some of its heart.
Strategy completely out the window. You could have died.
I suppose. But now we need to find a way to enter the temple. We're wasting time here.
That seems to be our best bet.
Nobody does it better. You can always hide.
Dude, Shu is totally wrong. Single player in this game doesn't suck. It's got problems, doesn't suck though. Shit, someone just sent me a message in the middle of a game.
Che, I will fight you with the velocity and the ferocity of a velociraptor.
Wait, I think that's Patrick. He's drunk. He's supposed to be reviewing Hexic on Xbox Live Arcade. What the hell?